What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Bodacious Rant episode with Bern and Rye. I gotta start thinking of a new catchphrase or new intro thing. Maybe I should be more like, it's me! Hello! We're so excited! I don't know. I'll have to think of something.
Or just like do what we were like doing before where, I mean, I think that was before we were video, but you know, with the book and everything, just, oh, I didn't see you guys then.
I don't know. I have fun with that. But you know what? For those who, let us know in the comments, do you want us to be super cheesy with the intro, or is it fine just us, you know, coming at you like a regular thing? I'd love to know. Please, like, feel free to comment, whether it be mean or not. Just, I need interaction. I need society.
He needs some passion, some connection,
And spirit.
and spirit.
Some rusty trombone or hanging brain. Don't alligator, no Cincinnati bow tie, alligator fuckhouse. Just, oh. That part of 4-year-old Virgil will always kill me because, again, you just see him look at her and just, oh shit, and he walks away.
That dude dipped quicker than me when a necromorph comes at me, you know?
Yeah.
Full on panic.
Well, as Bern is referring to, and you guys have read for the comments, for those who are interested, we are talking about the new Dead Space remake for the PlayStation, basically next-gen consoles. It's available on PS5, Xbox Series X. I think it's on PC as well. Please.
Yeah, PC.
Okay,
That's it. Just these, like you said, the next-gen consoles, basically.
Okay, cool. So I wasn't wrong with that. And this has been one of my favorite games, one of the first horror games I ever played when I was in high school, because I remember a buddy, Joe, loaned it to me, and I was like, yeah, let me try it. And I remember that's one of the scariest things I've ever played, and it still freaking is. This is a spoiler review, guys, because we're going to talk a little bit about gameplay and just kind of dive into the story. So if you haven't played this game and you want to like kind of dive into it with us, try and play a bit of it and then come on back, or watch a YouTube video on like the cinematics or something, see what you think. Or, you know, if you just want to see if the game's worth for you, dive into us with the spoilers a little bit, because it is spoilers and it's not. We're just kind of reviewing the game in general.
Yeah, just like light spoilers. It's not like I'm gonna like go beat for beat with like the story or anything. But as you mentioned, this is a remake. It's a game that came out in 2008. So
when you go through the forest bathroom, this is what happens, okay? Or have you seen the dude Joe Coy Netflix thing he did, his stand up?
No.
Oh my god, it's so. He talks about how a guy in the Philippines will direct someone to Starbucks, and it's a whole thing. I can't do it now. It's gonna give you the whole thing. We'll talk about it later, because I don't remember the joke quite well, anyways. But before we get started, guys, please, as always, remember to give us a like if you like the video, ring the bell to stay up to date with notifications, and of course subscribe, just so we can keep growing the ranting base. We want to keep everybody in our conversations, just to have the fun, keep the fun going. So, Bern, shall we get started?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is one of my most anticipated games of the year. Luckily, it came out like very early in the year, in January, so not long of a wait. And man, what a remake for sure.
I've been waiting for this for like a couple of years. Ever since they announced, I was like, finally, yes. So yeah, but again, like the fact that it's already 2023 and it already came out, like, thank God. So Bern, why don't you walk everybody through like what you want to talk about? Do you want to give a general? Why don't we start with the general plot of the game, and we'll go from there. What do you say?
Well, again, I don't want to like get too into the specific plot beats, but I think we can just start off with basically just like our overall thoughts. You know, like what did we think about it? You know, what is like our overall score, and then we can kind of like get into it a little bit more than that. So, you know, as we mentioned, everybody, this was a remake of a game that came out in 2008. So essentially, you know, what you got in that game, if you played it, you get it here, but in full-on next-gen fidelity. Like, my God. Like, nothing more can be said about the visuals and the audio and stuff of this game. So all of that, like, the new remake stuff that they added to this is truly amazing. And but what it overall, you know, just this whole like new re-entry into the original Dead Space. What did you think about it? Just overall top thoughts.
For sure. Well, without diving into the spoilers, just for those of you who've never heard of this game, or if you don't remember, essentially it's about this engineer who's him and his crew of like a few people, have gone on to this ship called the USG Ishimura, and they're trying to investigate what's going on with it. And again, it's a horror survival game, so you can kind of put the pieces together from there. Overall, like I said, it's like with this and The Last of Us, because I haven't played them in so long, it was a lot of like jogging my memory bit by bit. However, the beginning, again, plays it so well. Overall, this game is still horrifying. I think they made it even scarier than I remember, to be honest. And that's a big feat, because if you guys don't remember, if you never played the original had a lot of jump scares, and it was a good game at building tension with silence, because like there are parts where it's kind of quiet and stuff like that. You'll hear things throughout the ship that you're walking through, and you still do. So if you play it with headphones, like Bern has recommended to, you hear everything. You'll hear screams, monsters, walking, ticking sounds. It's a lot. It's a hard game to get through for me, because I just keep getting paranoid about what's going to be around the corner and all this stuff. So overall, I loved it, dude. I forgot how great this game is, and getting back into the world of Dead Space. Did you play the original when you were younger, or is this like kind of your first entry into it?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely played the original when it initially came out. Maybe I was a little too young to play it at the time, but man, I mean, I remember it, like, from, I don't know if you remember that commercial, but there was a commercial that aired around that time of like close to the release, where it had that like creepy version of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and I had no idea what the game was, and it just like showed this like creepy like little lullaby trailer of, you know, all the horrific things that happen in the game. And I was just like, from that point on, I was obsessed. Like, my first horror game was Resident Evil 4. And then I bought it for the GameCube, played the first level, never touched it after that. Because it was just too scary for me. And then, you know, I saw the trailers for Dead Space, and I was obsessed. Like, I was like, space horror is like my jam. Even as a young kid, it just like appealed to me, even though I had never played like really a horror game by that time. But when it came out, I played the heck out of it, man. Like, I replayed that game. Like, if I had the disc, I could probably show to you how worn out it was by the time I was like through with it. But dude, yeah, Dead Space was for the longest time my favorite horror game of all time, up until recently, like a few years ago, when the Resident Evil 2 remake came out. That became my favorite game, my favorite horror game, because, you know, the graphical fidelity of that. I had never played the original Resident Evil 2, and so, you know, diving into it like with fresh eyes on that one, it just completely blew me away and surpassed Dead Space. But with this remake, man, like it's amazing what they pulled off. As I mentioned, you know, the graphical fidelity is just like simply great. Like, on my TV, it's just like amazing. Like, the shadows are so dark, and the fog that like passes through within the Ishimura, and as you mentioned, the ambient noise that you hear with the headphones on, you know, like things clanging around, like monsters moving around in the vents and behind you and on the other sides of doors. It just makes everything so creepy. I think I agree with you. I think they made it scarier than it was initially in 2008, because all of that, you know, all of this new updated technology has just lends itself to it being just way more terrifying this time around.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's what truly makes a remake better. Like the Last of Us next gen update, you know, again, that even almost feels like a remake of itself, just because everything just looks so more pristine, so much more crisp. You know, looking at the old graphics and kind of looking at comparison videos from the original Dead Space to this one. Yeah, my hats off to them. I'm glad they took their time with it. They didn't rush it, because everything looks so good. It looks like it's a brand new game for next gen, like, and you would never guess it was a remake unless they said it was a Dead Space remake. So that's why I loved about it. And again, I haven't quite beat this one yet. You're a trooper for beating it multiple times. I just remember that was one of the games I loved, but it was hard to get to it again, because it's like, fuck, it's so fucking scary. And it's like, because I'll get into it. Like, I remember we were in a quarantine, I would talk to you about Resident Evil 2. I'm like, Bernie, where do I go? What do I do? It's just like, dude, you got to experience it. I'm like, no! Oh, it was that one and Last of Us 2. Those ones that got me freaking out. And I was like, shit, where am I going? You would hear me just have my freakouts and stuff. This one you haven't heard me as much because we've been playing other stuff. I haven't played it when I'm talking to you, but oh man. Oh, actually no, you kind of have. You just hear me get like super just aggressive real quick, like you motherfucker. Just
We need to use that that video sharing feature more in the party chat so I can watch you play through it. I'm glad that they added that to the PS5 so I can maybe just, guide you through it or just watch you as you're just terrorized by this game in real time.
I would rather have your help with like the Resident Evil games. With this one, I kind of it's a very easy game to navigate a little bit. Like it's not so much puzzle stuff, and I appreciate that. It's literally just straight up you survive, you get the job done, and great. If not, good luck. You have to do it again. So like I said, I'm completely in love with it, man. Yeah, I can't praise it enough. It was so great.
So I know you're only like a few hours in. Do you feel comfortable enough giving like an overall score yet before we like dive into like the nitty gritties, or would you rather like hold off on giving a judgment as of right now?
I mean, I do, but do you want to give your rating now, or do you want to wait till we're overall done with it? It's up to you. I follow your.
Well,
rating.
I can't. I mean, I think we should probably, if you wanted to. I can definitely give mine now, just because for people who maybe don't want to go into this game knowing a little bit too much of the updates that they've made, they can bow out at this point.
Okay, that's a fair point. I'm gonna give my rating like a hard, just because I'm not done with it. So, but again, I remember loving the game so much, and this is basically just an HD version, like on crack, a 4K version. Really, I'm gonna give it a hard like 9.5 out of 10 or 9 out of 10, because it's that good nostalgia that's like, man, I forgot how good this game was, and it still freaking works. Because there are some games they can remake, and then even if they make like gameplay changes and graphic changes, you can tell when a game just doesn't hold up. But this is definitely up there where it's like, man, this is another gold standard of remakes. So fantastic game. I am gonna finish it. I just need to get the balls to do it and just be like, let's just power through it again. Just go through the horrors and survive.
Just gotta put your headband on and just be like, training montage.
I'm just gonna
Prepare yourself.
I'm just gonna grip the controller. Just, all right, we're doing this. Come on, guys, where are you? Just, But that's the fun part about it. What would you say, Bern?
Yeah, for me, this one is gonna be like a big 9 out of 10. This is an amazing remake. Just as the Resident Evil 2 remake set the bars for remakes, this one definitely sets the bar again, because they could have gone the easy route of just putting a fresh coat of paint on the old game and just leaving it at that, and it would have been great because the original game was great. But what they did here is they did make some quality of life changes and updates to certain mechanics, certain story elements, to make the overall experience like that much better. So yeah, the team at EA Motive, they did a fantastic job, and like I said, this one's a 9 out of 10, and hopefully, the success of this will lead to possibly a Dead Space 2 remake, and maybe even like a redo of 3 or something for. I'm just glad at this point that Dead Space is back in the conversation now, and hopefully this remake revives the franchise, because it was so cool back in the day, and for it to get this new life now, it's kind of awesome.
Oh, absolutely, they need to do 2, because that's the best hybrid of like action pack and horror, and that one's almost iconic as the original for this franchise. And I'm hoping we go even further than that. They keep the franchise going with a new Dead Space games, whether it be with the main character Isaac or someone else in the fray, just because again they can take this and keep going with it in a great way. So yeah, my sentiments with you there, Bern.
Cool. All right, so everybody, if you guys don't want to know too much of about the game, you either just wanted to see if it was good or if it was not, we gave that to you now. So if you want to go in for the rest of it blind, then now's your time to jump out. But again, this isn't going to be like too heavy spoilers. We're just going to talk about some of the elements that they changed to make this updated remake play a little bit more better than the originals. So again, we're not going to get too deep into it, but for people who don't want to know too much going in, now's the time to jump out. So with that being said, First, I wanted to start off with probably the biggest change that they've made to this game, and that's with the main character of Isaac himself. And in the original game, he was a voiceless character. You know, he was just kind of like the prototypical protagonist, where you know, they didn't have like a voice or a personality, so you know the gamer was able to impart themselves onto it. Here he's fully voiced. You know, the original voice actor Gunnar Wright is back and reprising his role from the original Dead Space 1, 2, and 3. And you know, they use his likeness. He has voice lines. He interacts with the other members of the crew. What did you think about that change? I don't know if, based on your reaction, it seemed like you didn't remember that Isaac was not a character like really in the first game.
No, I swore he did talk, or maybe I'm thinking of 2 and 3 because those were the more recent ones where he did talk a lot more. And that's crazy. Holy shit, you blew my mind on that one, Bern. I don't remember that at all. But no, I'm glad that it felt more. It felt more like he had like an actual character, and even the side characters that you still don't necessarily have to kind of care about because they're just side characters. They're not super integral to the story or anything like that. They are and they aren't. But even then, with his dialogue and their dialogue, like them interacting, they definitely made you care about everybody a lot more than the original game. So I thought that was very well done. Yeah, I mean, how did you like? Obviously, you like the change that they made him more of like a voice character this time.
I mean, yeah, for sure. Like it just made the presentation of the game itself and the character of Isaac that much more better because, as I mentioned in the original first game, he was he had no voice in a lot of the interactions with the other characters. You know, Hammond and Kendra. You know, the other two crew members that go along on this journey in the Ishimura. They're just kind of barking orders at you throughout the whole time. They're like, "Hey, Isaac, this thing's broken. We need you to go like fix this so we can get this thing back online." What I like about the change here instead is that Isaac, being the engineer that he is, something will go wrong in the ship and all the characters will have like this conversation and he'll jump in and be like, if I do this, this, and this, maybe I can get this thing back running. Like it accentuates like his character instead of it just being like, "Hey, Isaac, go do that." And you're just like, okay, I guess I'm going to go do the thing now. So it's definitely a lot more fleshed out there. So I like that, now that he does have a voice, he's able to interact with the other characters, and they all get a little bit more interaction and feel like more of a team this time around.
Yeah, speaking of the changes to Isaac, I don't know if you remember much about what he originally looked like, because you only see brief of it in Dead Space 1. You see more of him in 2. How did you feel about them changing the character's overall look? Him and his wife's name, was it Kate?
Nicole Brennan.
Damn it, I don't know why I keep saying Kate. But what did you think about...
So you've got a Kate on the mind somewhere. We got to find out who that Kate is.
I don't know. I meet so many people in my line of work. There's so many names. I just can't remember. But how'd you feel about their those two character changes? Because in the original game, I remember they were a lot more youthful, a lot more...
Very different, yeah.
I would say even more kind of like hip at the time in a way, because like he almost reminded me of like a skater or like a punk rock. Like, he had the short hair and stuff. He looked more youthful, and so did his wife Nicole. Where this one, it was like, oh man, they definitely aged him up a bit. Like Isaac looks more like a mature, like an adult in his prime, and Nicole definitely looks a little bit more like age, not in a bad way, but just they look more, I guess, appropriate for like their line of work and stuff. How did you feel about that?
Yeah, so that's like one of those things where the fans are on both sides of it. Some people really like that original design and didn't want it to be changed, but I fall more on the side of like, I embrace the change specifically for the reason that those two characters, Isaac and Nicole, this time around, they're fully motion captured by the actors that play them. So, Isaac looks like the actor that plays him, who's Gunnar Wright, and Nicole, she looks like her actress, who is Tanya Clark. Yeah, so it just like it fits, because it's that actor's voice and likeness. So to me, that just feels like more like it feels more realistic, like to like the character, since it is the actors that are playing them. So for that reason, it fits, and also for the reason that I mean, the age of the characters in the game, the original game, weren't like it wasn't that apparent. You know, like what based on their looks, like how old they were. I recently looked it up, and Isaac in the beginning of Dead Space is 47 years old. So
He
this
did not
time
look 47 back then.
yeah, so he did
That's
not look
crazy.
47, and especially Nicole's original design in the first game, she did not look like she was anywhere near that age. So it was I like that they aged them up, to the age that the actors are now. They feel a little bit more like yeah, these characters are in their mid 40s,
It took me some getting used to, but honestly, I'm like, I could care less. It still works, and I kind of like the idea that it's the actual actors themselves in the game. I think that's a really cool detail, and it kind of pays respect to it, because most voice actors rarely ever look like their characters. Like Last of Us is definitely a good example of it. Whereas in like God of War Ragnarok, a lot of those characters are mocapped, so they put in the actors like faces and stuff more into the characters than they would. So I really like that aspect. I think that's a really neat detail. I mean, of course, I do miss the original Isaac and stuff, but at the same time, I'm like, there's a reason why it's a remake. You gotta make some changes to it. You can't, like you said, you can't just put a fresh coat of paint on it and be like, it's brand new. It's like, not really, no. So I didn't mind it. I just wanted to see what you thought. If you thought that was a good change, a change that doesn't matter, I just want to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I think it's definitely worth addressing because that's one of the the biggest things that you see right away. These character changes in the models and how different they look than as compared to their original Xbox 360, PS3 versions. Definitely the technology lends itself more these days to the motion capture or at least the likeness capture of the actors playing the roles. So in that way, it definitely fits in. And I think what helps it is definitely the fact that it is the original actors coming back. So there's not like too much discrepancy. Like, oh, this doesn't fit. Like, no, this is the same guy who played him the many years ago. So it just kind of feels good. It feels right, that the actor gets to like fully embody the role within the game itself. So that was really cool. So I did like that update to those models. And dude, this time around, holy crap, the necromorphs, they are far more scary and disgusting this time around. It is insane what they've done with them in this remake.
Yeah, that's part of that new mechanic that they added for this. So again, it's another welcome change to it, where if you're killing necromorphs, like, because the whole point, for those who don't remember, is you're cutting off their limbs, because you can go for body shots and can do shit to them, or it's gonna take a lot longer. Where if you cut off their limbs, they're more likely to die with that. So especially the main necromorphs with their stupid little praying mantis arms and stuff, those were the first to go. But when I use my plasma cutter on them, you definitely see skin peeling back, and you see bones, you see sinews, the muscles, and it's like, man, that's really well done. It's very gross, but it's like, that's impressive to really animate that and make it come to life. And like you said, they definitely look more gross, but that's just added to the visuals that you see skin coming off there. It's like just looks decayed and already like mutated. So it's just so well done. I love those little changes to that.
Yeah, I mean, and it adds to the terror factor of it. When you're panic shooting, their limbs, and you see layers come off, and while they're like tanking to the shots, that's one thing that's different this time around, that they walk through your shots this time. So it feels like at least initially when you're starting off with the guns that fresh, no upgrades or anything, it is a lot. It takes a lot more bullets this time around to take down these monsters, and when they gang up on you, it gets really tense and it does get scary, and yeah, that added gore factor to it just adds to the terror, and just an incredibly welcome change, but one that I'm just like, why did you have to make this a lot more scarier than it originally was?
That's why I did it easy mode, dude. I'm like, I just want a nice, cool little tank factor just to power through this game. It's still horrifying, but they definitely don't injure you as much. Where if I went to like the more advanced level, I think I played it at the like kind of the level above easy when I was younger. It was like, man, if they got you, it's like you're struggling, and it's hard. But that's why I did easy mode, dude. I'm sorry, I had to take the easy way out.
I mean, I don't blame you. Like, I'm playing it on the hardest difficulty now, and it is just it's a journey. I'll tell
I'm
you
just
that.
I have my John Lovitz reaction. Just
Because yeah, I mean they're stronger this time around. Your gun feels like you definitely need to put some upgrades to it to make it like as effective as they were in the at least the plasma cutter was in the original game. But it seems like the enemy AI is a lot smarter this time. Where an enemy will attack you from the front, and then one will like come and flank you around from behind. I can't tell you how many times I jumped, attacking like fighting off someone in front of me, and then just seeing like the arms of the other enemy sneaking up behind me, just like gets me every time. And it's just again one of those things that they added that definitely ups the scare factor.
dude, it was that, but also just there have been a couple times I'm doing something, I don't even hear them come up. I just see the necromorph just pop up behind me. I'm like, what the shit?
Oh, yeah.
There's the music. Where's the their weird screaming? Where's any of that? And it's like, nope. They just have to sneak up on you. So it's like they definitely made that much of a change too. Which again, it makes it fun because the adrenaline kind of keeps you going, and it's just a great time.
But I mean, your weapons this time around, like I know I'm saying that they are at least the plasma cutter initially is a little bit weaker than it was before, but by the time you upgraded it, it's like the best thing ever, like before. But this time around, all a lot of the other guns definitely got like a rework and are much more. I guess they have much more utility this time around, whereas in the original game I was just sticking to the plasma cutter because all the other guns felt like not as good. This time around, everything from the flamethrower to the cut, like the buzzsaw gun, I forget what that one's called. The Ripper, yeah, the Ripper, the line gun, the gravity gun, the force gun is what it's called. That's probably my favorite one this time around. I mean, that paired with the peeling system, where this one just sends a concussive blast. When you shoot them, it just like blows the layers off their body. So by the time you're done with them, they're just like bone and like flesh, and so it's like it was so gross. But dude, yeah, the guns this time around are so awesome. I don't know how many you've unlocked by this point in this game, but just to tell you, by the end of it, they all feel like they all have their uses, and unlike before, where it was like, no, I'm good. I'm gonna stick to the plasma cutter.
I mean, I'm still like that, but I will say they definitely feel it's really a matter of your play style. Are you more of a like the pulse rifle guy, where you can just upgrade that one and that's gonna be your go-to gun? Where I'm gonna be a stand for the plasma cutter because that's been my favorite. That is Isaac's gun, being an engineer. So I love that thing. But yeah, like playing it again, I've gotten the flamethrower, the Ripper, the particle beam. Like I think I forgot what that one's called. And even the particle beam, when I shot it once or twice, I was like, oh, this feels better. Because I remember
it's strong.
There were a couple guns, yeah, that when you played originally, it didn't really do anything. Like, especially the flamethrower. Easily one of the most useless things throughout that whole franchise. But this time around, it definitely feels like a viable thing. I just need to upgrade it more, so if I'm going to use that on a necromorph, it's definitely going to make much more of a difference. Because on the little things, it's fine, and a couple other things. But, the Ripper feels good. I do love the line gun. That was one of my favorite ones because it's just a giant plasma cutter. So, once I get my old guns,
like a good secondary.
once I get my old guns, like all of my setup right, it's like those are the ones I'm sticking with because they all serve a good purpose depending on your situation. So I'm glad they kind of balanced them out. So you definitely have to choose which one's gonna work. Like if you're in a tight room, go with the Ripper, the plasma cutter. If you're in a big space, plasma rifle and the line gun may be better. It's just that's the beauty of this remake so far.
Yeah, and one of the things that got a huge buff is your stasis, which is basically your slow down time ability. Because the enemies are a lot faster, they're a lot smarter this time around. That thing is like becomes like a necessary thing that you need to utilize in battle, especially when there's multiple like swarming you at the same time. Just locking them in place just feels so satisfying this time around. So you can slow them down, pick your shots off. So that was a thing that I really dug this time around. That using because that was something I didn't use too much in the original game, but this time around you have to use it, especially later in the game when things get a little bit more difficult. So that one was like a huge upgrade, and that one was really good. The one thing that I'm not loving, and maybe it's just like the way I'm playing, or maybe I don't know if it's intentional, and it definitely wasn't in the original games was the kinesis this time around, which was your like your pull and push ability, where you can like pick things up and like launch them at enemies, or like grab things that are like out of, like away from like grabbing distance. This time around, it is a little bit more finicky, I'll say, and I don't remember how it was in the original game. Again, much like the stasis, it was something that I didn't utilize too much. But after I played Dead Space 2 a few months ago, and in that game, you're constantly using that thing. I think they made it more part of the gameplay of the second game for sure. So I haven't played the first game in a little while, so I don't remember how well it was utilized there. But here, sometimes, because there's so many things lying around that you can pick up, and when you blow enemies apart, there are a bunch of body parts, lying around like on the ground. So what I like to try to do is like to try to cut an arm off, grab it, and then launch it at the enemy. But a lot of times I find myself like picking other things up off the ground, like things that are like useless, a ladder, a box, like just things that aren't going to help me in battle. So I just wish that system was a little bit more better, because being able to pick up their blade off the ground and launching it at them helps conserve ammo. And again, when you're playing on, especially on the harder difficulties where ammo is like less robust, you need to utilize that function a little bit more. And when you're picking up things off the ground that you don't mean to, it gets frustrating sometimes. And like at a certain point, like it stops being like scary and it just starts being annoying. I don't know if you use that function too much.
I never really did. I have used it a couple times. I've gotten some gnarly kills with it. But yeah, it's like when you're in the action, yeah, it definitely gets finicky. It's like you're trying to grab their little claw, or you're trying to grab like a sharp object like a disc or something. It may not do it. You'll have to grab a body part, just throw it at them. I'm like, shit, that's not what I'm trying to grab. And yeah, so that's totally fair. But when I'm like out and about, like I see credits or I see boxes and stuff, I have no problem grabbing those. But that's a very fair criticism when you're playing the game. But at the same time, maybe in their defense, just playing devil's advocate, it's probably so hard when there's so many body parts. Like it's hard to really be super accurate with it. So the game probably just is like, oh yeah, just grab the closest object and just throw it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like it like you said, it's really only in the combat scenarios where it becomes annoying. But yeah, as you mentioned, when you're just grabbing things around in the world, like to picking up credits or picking up ammo, it works. But it's just when there's like a bunch of things lying around on the ground, those things being mainly necromorph body parts, it does get like a little like, nope, no, I didn't want that one, nope, I didn't want that one, and now I'm hit, now I'm getting attacked by the enemy.
A classic horror movie trope. You're trying to grab the knife, you just keep grabbing everything, throwing it at them. It's like, no, dude, they're gonna get. Just watch out for the blade. They'll get you.
So that was the thing that I didn't really like too much, but again, it doesn't detract like too much. It's just in those moments of like high tension, you want the combat to feel responsive, and when it feels like it's working against you, you're just like, well, you're already in a panic because the enemies are coming at you, and then now this thing's not functioning the right way, so it just adds more to that frustration.
You're just like, God damn it, will you die? That's fair.
So I mean, that was one of the things I didn't like, and I guess another thing that I wish they could change. I know they did a Q&A on Friday of last week, and this was one of the questions I was asked of them, but it was a complaint in the original first game, and it is a complaint again here, where as you upgrade your suits, you lose the look of the previous level. So your level 1 suit all the way up to 5, I believe. Once you get the full upgrade, you can't go back to the earlier looks. And just as someone who likes like the designs of the suits and stuff, especially this time around, you can tell they added a lot of detail, and they put a lot of effort and love into a lot of each the level suit designs. So it sucks that when you upgrade to the fullest, you can't get those cosmetics. Like, yeah, I want the extra inventory space and armor, but sometimes I like the look of this suit better than this one. So I know they addressed it, like they're looking into it, but the fact that it didn't launch with it is kind of like, oh man, that's a missed opportunity there, because that was something people wanted in the original first game, and to go through that again, it's just kind of like, you should have seen that coming,
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I'm usually such a critic of like the suits and stuff, but honestly, I didn't really. it's the first game was one of those ones that I really like the final look because that's like the look on the cover. It's his heavy duty suit. Like you feel complete with that one. It wasn't until 2 I really cared about the suit look. But no, that's totally fair. It's like you should be able to, especially if you beat the game and you play Game Plus, you should be able to choose. Like, do you want to just stick with this suit look but keep upgrading it as you go, or yeah, I mean that's fair. I could definitely see that critique. Me personally, I don't mind it. I'm just trying to upgrade my suit and just to get that final look because it's just again it's the most iconic look besides his Dead Space 2 suit.
Yeah, again, it's just like a minor like nitpick thing, because like again, a lot of the suits look great. Once you see what I don't know if you're gonna like do this, but once you get to the new game plus and you get the final suit upgrade, it's kind of like I really wish I can go back because it's very different from the main looks that you see throughout the game, and sometimes I just like I really wish I could go back to that initial look, but yeah, again, it's just like one of those things that I hope they add it later on. If they don't, it's not the worst thing in the world, but one of the things that is kind of annoying, well, not really annoying, but it was a quality of life change that they made in the second game coming from the first one was the ability your waypoint ability where you like do your map thing and like you can see like what path to take on the to your next objective. Something that they added in the second game was that you can select you can toggle what you want to look for, so you can look at next main objective, a workbench or a shop. It's like so you can like quickly go like be navigated to the nearest thing of that. A lot of the things that they added in this game were quality of life changes that the second game made. Like the zero gravity, the way the way that the kinesis and the stasis work and stuff. So it seemed like that's something that they probably should have added this time around too, just because it was like one of those things that, again, it's like they added it in the second game to make the gameplay a little bit more smooth. And sometimes I just want to quickly like say, because they add side missions into this game, which is really cool. So I'm like, I wish I could like quickly just within that like initial check go from main mission to side mission, or I'm like, oh, where's the nearest shop I want to go upgrade something? Let me just quickly like change the little toggle to take me to the nearest one. It's just one of those things where it's like it's not in the game. It functions okay without it, but if they had added it, I feel like it would have gone a good way to making that a little bit smoother.
That's fair. I mean, yeah, no, I can agree with that. So far for me, I'm kind of fine doing it. It would be nice to know where the workbenches are and stuff, so you can kind of plan out how many nodes you want to save up or all that stuff. But it's kind of like you get to a point in the story, that's where it's convenient. But then as you're doing the missions, it's like, nah, you're gonna have to wait till you get all the way back there. Essentially, it's like, oh shit. Well, that's kind of a bummer because then you don't want to lose progress on where you're at. So, no, I could definitely see that being a good critic, like a good critique of it.
Yeah, just because, and I guess I'll just end on these last couple of points, but which are positives. The Ishimura this time around is a fully seamless, basically the seamless map where you can go from one end of the ship to the other end of the ship. Whereas in the original game, you had to take the tram system through each different section. So, now that it's a lot more interconnected and there's a lot of, going back and forth from different areas, I feel like that little, like, waypoint change would have gone a long way to like, making that little, like, journey through the ship a little bit better. But that was a really cool change that I really liked in this game was how interconnected it is and being able to go down all the hallways from, the top of the ship all the way to the engineering, to the mining section. It just makes it feel like a lot more like lived in and cool, and there's a lot of like cool environmental things around, and the zero gravity sections that are in between those things are really, really well done. So all the sections that they added to that stuff to make the gameplay a little bit more dynamic, and the map feel a little bit more alive was really cool. I mean, just the ship design itself is amazing. So they definitely got the most out of it this time around, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, again, for me, it kind of is combined with the audio where you hear all these things happening in the ship. You definitely get the vibe that it's so much more vast, and that's the beauty of it with their updates is that, it like, because when you hear it, if you could like, given I haven't really heard the last game in the beginning, but it's like compared to the audio stuff now, I'm sure it's not as spacious as it should have been. Or this one, you feel like you're in the depths of this massive dead ship essentially, and you're just trying to navigate and survive. So I like the little echoes and all that stuff. And then again, the shadows, the lighting that they all added for the environment, it just makes it that much more scary and intense. Like you really are trying to just survive, and I love that.
And it definitely gives function to the intensity director, they call it, in this game. So this game, like, on the background sets up different, like, scenarios, like ambushes, like noises and stuff, where all it's trying to do is scare you. So being able to walk through the ship and double back and pick up items, go inside security doors that you now have access to, or this certain areas that you were blocked from the story, now that you're going back through these sections that you cleared out, the intensity director is going to throw some bad guys at you, a little necromorph here, a little ambush there. It's really cool stuff that they added. It makes every playthrough feel different and stuff. So again, it's one of the many things that they added to this remake to basically bring this Dead Space game back to life and make it even scarier than it was before.
Yeah, like if there's any game that had to be remade, this is definitely on like my top list. The only other ones I would want would be like games from my childhood, but this is definitely one that shouldn't have been part of my childhood, but it was, and I'm so glad it is, and it's back in its full glory. Like imagine, can you imagine if we played this when we were 12? Even better, we got it when we're 30. That's how I feel. Like, I mean, I got it when I was 16, but it's like, dude, it's 14 years later, man. It's still one of the best games of all time. Like, this is up there with like Last of Us, Red Dead, the Resident Evil remakes. It's such a great staple for the next gen. So I'm glad like younger generations who are up playing mature games are playing this too now. It's just great for them to kind of join in on it.
Yeah, it's good for old heads like you and me, people who played this game back when it released, and it's good for the newer generation of gamers who didn't get to play the original, and now they have a very, very awesome entry point. And as I mentioned, this is my new favorite horror game of all time now, right above Resident Evil 2 Remake. Resident Evil 4 Remakes are right around the corner, so we'll see how that one does. And that one's looking great, but everything that they did here with this remake, man, was amazing, and I couldn't be more happier with it.
Me too, my dude. Anything else you wanted to chat about, or we covered all the bases, my brother?
I mean, I pretty much covered what I wanted to say. I don't know if you have any final thoughts, but yeah, I'm about to finish my third playthrough, and I imagine this will be a game like the original that I revisit at least once a year because it's just that good.
Well, you are a trooper again. My final thoughts again, guys. Please play this game. Unless you're too scared, maybe play with a buddy or something, or have someone in your head to calm you down, because it's such a good game. Not only just for the scares, but story-wise, it's pretty interesting. And then how they go about in the future of the games is really good. So hopefully we can get more remakes from that. But until then, guys, like I said, check out our Last of Us review. We got Knock at the Cabin coming out, like our review coming up, so keep an eye out for that. And again, Last of Us is coming out a couple of days earlier because of the Super Bowl, which unfortunately I have to work through, but I'm sure I'm going to put it on my phone or on my TV at work, so I don't care. We'll check out all the good trailers for that, but until next time, guys, let us know in the comments what you thought of the game, and of course, stay bodacious and keep on ranting for the both of us.
Absolutely, everybody. Be good, be safe, and this time around, make us whole.